as you guys know, we have finished 3 chapters from PMBOK, and chapter number 4 in PMBOK. Anybody has PMBOK or Rita handy or Head First handy?
Yes.
Yeah, has some page.
Can you tell me the name of chapter number 4 in all the books that you have? Abdurrahim, Mahmoud, you speak Arabic,
أيوة.
right?
أيوة, yes.
Okay, let me try to say something. ما اسم درس 4 في PMBOK.
Integration management.
ما اسم. Did I make
اسم
sense?
درس 4. ده اسم درس 4 في البي ام بي. بحاول اشوف وين الكتاب.
Okay, I cannot. This is Lebanese. You didn't talk to him in Arabic, man. You just talked to him in Lebanese. I cannot talk Lebanese.
أحاول أن أعثر على الكتاب.
Man, it'll take me, I don't know, 5 years to get that. I'm learning the basics.
I read it somewhere here.
So the chapter 4 is
Integration management.
integration management. Now all the books are aligned, okay? And what we're going to start today is chapter number 4. And as you already now know, now that you're reading from the book, chapter 4 is integration management. Where is integration management in the framework?
First one.
First one from which aspect?
Knowledge areas.
Knowledge area aspect, correct. So the chapter 4 is integration management. Chapter 5 is scope. Chapter 6 is schedule, and the remaining. Okay. Now the way we will study the course now is now we're going to start talking about processes. And remember that for each process, you have 5 questions. And you got to know these answers to these questions for each of the process. What are those 5 questions? First of all, you got to know what is the objective. First of all, the more clear you are about objective, the more easy the remaining questions become. What is the next question you need to know the answer to? There is an objective. If there is an objective, you need things. What are those things that you need?
Input.
Inputs. Yes, inputs. Then to achieve the objective, you'll apply some tactics. You'll apply certain tools. You'll apply certain techniques. This is tools and techniques. The third element. نقطة ثلاث. The third point. The fourth element is output. I don't know, خروج. Output, I don't think it's, but output, the fourth.
المخرج.
مخرج.
المخرجات.
مخرجات, the outputs. Now the fifth one is also important. You have 49 processes you see on the screen. They happen in a certain kind of a pattern. You got to know that pattern. What is the process before? What is the process after? Some processes you already know you will do in planning. Some process you already know you will do in execution, so on and so forth. Then you need to know what is before, what is after. We'll discuss all of that. Okay. Any questions about anything so far? And today, why only 4 of you? Where are the rest? Okay, hang on. Can one of you do me a favor? Like, just check the group. If somebody puts something in the group, just just bring it to my attention, please. If you'll be able to check, because I can check the group, but I cannot check it regularly. Now, you guys have the advantage of being able to check regularly.
Nothing is there in the group.
There's nothing in the group. Okay, cool. Now, these are all the processes in the knowledge area. Okay. Now, as we study every single process, you got to realize that every process is singular, stand alone. So it doesn't matter if I start telling you directly about, for example, this one process, direct and manage project work, doesn't matter. Why? The way you need to take this course is Every process you have to understand separately, standalone. Okay. So I don't know if I made sense, but to say it in another way, each process is a building block and you need to study each of them separately. And later on, you have to learn to know how to put them together. Okay. Making sense? Am I making sense? All right. Now, let me give you an introduction to this knowledge area. The name of the knowledge area is Project Integration Management, right? And integration means, in your project, do you remember that one slide we had about everything, one wheel turning and everything else is changing in the project? If you change one thing in the project, doesn't it change and affect everything else in the project?
You're talking about scope, I think, right?
Could be scope. What if your resources are changing? What if your quality requirements are changing? What if your scope is changing? What if your risks are changing? What if your stakeholders are changing? Can any one of these change affect your project?
Yes, definitely.
So while you're in planning, you have to make sure you factor all the dependencies. That is basically what? That is basically coordination. Coordination between what? Between, this is within the process group, between the knowledge areas. Did this make sense? Coordination within the process group and between the knowledge areas. What do you think is the meaning of that? Okay, there is coordination required. Let's focus on planning. Is planning one process group? Yes. No. Tell me one of the answers.
Yes, it's a process group.
So tell me, I asked, So this within the process group is default, meaning that while you're within planning, there's coordination happening. But between what? Between everything else, between scope to schedule, schedule to cost, cost to quality, risk to cost, cost to, everything, between everything else. Am I making sense? Why are you guys quiet today? First of all, I have half attendance. And second of all, don't give me silent treatment. Okay.
Our videos are working or not?
Your video is working, man, but your sound is not working. Now it is working.
No, I feel like the videos are not working. I can see only you.
No, I can see you. You did all the adjustment and you got comfortable in your chair. I can see all of that. But I cannot hear you. So yalla. So coordination between what?
Processes.
Processes of, you have so many processes, right? So when you do the coordination, you're coordinating between what? Hello. So what are you coordinating between?
Process groups.
Yeah. So let's say you're planning. Planning means you will do all these processes, correct?
Yes.
Do you have processes from different knowledge areas?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, for example, if your scope is changing, scope is this knowledge area. If the scope is changing, is it affecting other knowledge areas like cost, for example? It is?
It is.
So this is one thing. If your quality is changing, quality requirement, quality plan is changing, it's kind of affecting maybe your scope, maybe your schedule, maybe your cost. Correct?
Yeah.
So the problem is, if you know quality requirement is changing or quality plan is changing, this is in quality knowledge area. How do I go to schedule? How do I go to scope? How do I go to cost? I need to go and make changes, right? That is the role of this guy on the top. Which knowledge area is this guy from? Develop project management plan. Which knowledge area?
Integration management.
Integration. So this guy is saying, Yalla, faddal, ana roundabout. What is this guy telling everybody? I am the roundabout. What does the roundabout do? Connect 4 streets, correct? What does the roundabout, is roundabout connecting 4 streets? Is it?
True. True.
It's connecting 4 streets, right? So this is your roundabout process, integration process. This roundabout is roundabout around every knowledge area. You know, in IT, IT guys, Spoken Hub, you have a hub, you have one server in the middle, and this one server get connected to too many computers, right?
Yes, it's an interpreter.
So this guy is in the middle, and everything is connected to this guy. From schedule, if I need to go to cost, I need to go through the roundabout and come back to cost. Make sense?
Yep.
This means you're doing what? This means you're doing coordination.
Coordination.
Which process is doing coordination? Integration process is doing
Integration
coordination. And is doing coordination between what? Between the processes from all knowledge areas. Okay.
True.
And of course, when you're in planning, you worry about planning only. You don't worry about monitor control or closing when you're doing planning, correct? So now you're in planning, you'll worry about planning within the process group. What is planning? Process group. I think I'm over explaining the point here. I can't remember the previous class where I think I'm doing. See, I know the root cause of the problem. When I get less feedback, then I tend to assume that you haven't understood well. And when I tend to assume that you haven't understood well, then I have the tendency to over explain. And then you are thinking, why is he explaining so much? So is the problem with me or the problem with you? Problems with who? Root cause analysis. Who has the problem? What is the problem right now?
Where is the roundabout now?
Mubarak. Right now, I need you guys to give me feedback. Either give me audio feedback or give me video feedback. If you nod your head, Srilal, I can see you're nodding your head. Rather than just, holding your finger against your, against your lips. I can see. So if you nod like this, is feedback. And Mahmoud or, okay, video guys, yalla. I'm not upset today, okay? So let me calm down. Non-video guys, if you have a real reason to keep your video off, that's fine with me, as long as you give me audio feedback.
Yeah, I was having dinner. I was very hungry.
I don't mind, Rafi, but you can at least talk, no? Talk to me, Habib. Talk to me.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Talk to me. All I'm asking is talk to me.
Yeah, sure.
So, coordinate is happening between
Process groups.
Process group.
No, it's
I
coordination.
have to get my tea. I will give you 30 seconds, talk among each other and explain. When I come back, I have to get my tea, otherwise it will like overheat. I want to know the answer to the question, coordination is happening between what?
What I understood, develop project management plan, he said like it is the roundabout. So it is required in every stage of planning, something like that.
Yeah.
It is this planning is everywhere on all the knowledge areas. Planning is there. So this is the single process which is combining across all the knowledge areas.
So project management.
Coordination is something like it has to be done between all the tasks, right?
Yes, it is, because any single changes, they need to see the effect on the next task or next process group, what is affecting that. So
Yeah.
at the planning, they need to coordinate for all the changes, whatever happening in the
Coordination
upcoming
is a
process.
common point. It has to be comes everywhere.
So it is in the knowledge areas, but not the process groups.
Hi guys. So yeah, what's the answer to, did you find an answer to the question? What is the coordination happening between?
Different process group through planning, something like.
No, Memo, the thing you said is correct.
It is happening between the knowledge areas in the
Hello,
same,
between knowledge areas
in one
of the
process
same
group.
of the same process group.
In one process group. So if it is planning, it is coordination between planning in all of the knowledge areas in planning.
Hello, correct. That's the answer.
If I move to executing, it is between the
Coordination between everything and executing. All the processes from all the knowledge areas, but within execution. Okay, is everybody clear with the answer? If not, ask.
Clear.
Yes.
Okay. All right, now this is one role of integration. We're talking about the knowledge area. This is one role of integration. Another role of integration is you have, okay, when you finish your planning, do you have, for example, your schedule that you produce? When you finish your planning, you'll have your schedule, right?
Yes.
And when you finish your cost planning, when you finish everything, whatever is required to be done, you will have your project budget, correct?
Correct.
So these are already two different plans. Then when you finish your quality planning, you will have quality plan. Same thing, when you finish risk planning, you have risk management plan or risk plan, correct?
Yes.
Now these are all separate. By the time you finish planning, don't you put everything together and call it as project management plan?
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's another role of your integration. What is the other role of integration? Combine things. Combine what? Everything coming out of the remaining, process group. Combine or unify. Same thing. Combine or unify.
Yeah. Like I bring the cost plan, the risk plan, the
Put everything in one bag. Wahid Shanta. This one bag is project management plan. Correct?
Correct.
So this, who's doing this combining? That integration guy, the roundabout guy. And what is the name of the integration planning process?
Develop project management plan.
What is the name of integration monitor and control process?
Monitor and control process.
Perform
Monitor and control project work.
And what is good? And what is the name of the execution integration process?
Direct and manage project work.
Is everybody clear with what's happening? Yes. The names? Okay. All right. So this is your introduction to the knowledge area. And like I said, we will study all the processes together. So all the processes that you see on the screen, either they are doing what? Either they're doing combination of something, or they're doing some kind of coordination, or little bit of both. Either combining, either coordinating, or little bit of both. All the processes that you see on the screen. Why? Because all these processes from which knowledge area?
Project integration management.
From project integration, all right? So keep asking your questions as you have them. Now, this you can read from PMBOK and Rita or Head First. Now they included this one page called Trends and Emerging Practices in relation to integration. And, your project can be managed in several different ways. PMI doesn't say this is the one style of managing projects and you have to do exactly like this one style. No, remember tailoring? So this is, these are examples of how you can change things on a project. Examples, okay? PMI never tells you apply only our method and only our method is correct. PMI is not telling you that. PMI is telling you these are the best practices. Adopt them as much and as closely as you can, as applicable. Any one of you who are in the contract field, just by adding as applicable, you have loosened the whole thing. And that's the whole idea. It is not a hard and fast thing. Okay, that's why when you go to sale, they will say, when you enter the shop, you will see big 80%. You enter the shop and you ask how much is the sale on this, he will say only 40%. He'll say, Lesh, he says up to 80%. So same thing. Okay, PMI doesn't say this is the only one way to do project, but for the exam, you got to understand the best practices and be able to apply them. Okay, there's a reason why PMP is popular. All right. Now we start with the very first process. Tell me the grid. Tell me the grid. This process, find it. Tell me the knowledge area, process group. This is the grid.
Knowledge area is project integration management and process group is initiating.
Yes. Okay. Everybody got that answer? Yeah. All right. So let's, yeah. Now, okay. Now, when you start a project, see, one more thing that you got to start doing for this course is that you have to also think of, don't only be limited to thinking what happens in your company or what you're used to looking at. Projects can be many type, many style, many, affected by culture, affected by region, affected by budget, affected by you have literally millions of projects today going on in the world, right? Literally millions of projects. Now, all those millions of projects, they have variation between each of them, right? And not all of them are very close to, PMI, PMBOK. Having said that, there can be different scenarios and instances under which a project starts. And this, I'm talking about the project information. Can a project be started in a company just because someone has an idea?
Can start, but we can't execute.
No, you can execute. Somebody says, I need to build electric cars. Somebody says, I need to go to the moon. Somebody says, I need to make the first 5G phone. Somebody says, I need my SAP to be integrated with every other platform in the whole world, right? One idea, and this behind this one idea is the whole project, right? Now, by the time the decision is made, which is like, just based on the idea, and the company decides to do that, is there any information available about the project in this scenario? Or we just know that we have to fulfill this idea and then you work on everything?
Second one, we have to fulfill this idea and work on it.
And work on it, whatever is required. You of course you need support and you need to, I'm not saying it's easy, but it can be done, and it is getting done. There's so many projects that you can think of that gets done this way, right? Especially this big companies, they have innovation and they have this, they always want to be the first in the race, this all this new technology and all that. Somebody said, I need a folding phone. Mabruk, now you have a folding phone, correct? Somebody said, I need a pen that I can use on the phone. Khalas, now you have note. Let's take the other extreme. The other extreme is we are a subcontractor. We are a subcontractor. And our client wanted to do something and we made tender, we submit our proposal, we gave them good price, and the client is awarding the contract to us. let's say some kind of a construction contract. The company wants to make one more office building, 2-story office building, 5,000 square meters. I don't know how much is 5,000 square meters. Sounds very small. So 50,000 square meters. I think 5,000 is the one house or two house. 100,000 square meters, 2 floors. In this case, remember, we are subcontractor. When will we start doing the project? We will start doing the project only when. Will you do the project without the client awarding it to you?
No, after
No,
our
will you?
Contract signing.
And how did you reach to the contract? Because you submitted proposal with lot of details. You submitted 200-page proposal.
yes,
In this case, compared to the first project, you have so much information with you already.
yes,
Correct?
that has
Yeah, you have, you know the plan, you know the scope, you know the requirements, you know the timeline, you know the budget, you know a lot of things. Now, when it comes to project, they are both projects, which means you push them through the same project management pipeline. What is the project management pipeline? This is your project management pipeline. Do this slide, which means you got to initiate the project. You got to plan for both the projects. You will execute both the projects, and so on and so forth.
yes,
Now, speaking on and looking at this slide, I don't remember if we discussed this, but if you look at the process groups, yeah, we looked at this the time we did monitor control. When you look at the process groups, what is the first process group you must always do on a project? Must?
Initiating.
Initiating. And after you finish initiating,
planning,
planning, you get the idea, right? And after planning,
Executing.
monitoring, and
yeah,
executing.
execution, right? Now, it means when you start your project, you must start with initiating, correct? So far, so good?
Yes,
How many processes are there in initiating?
2 processes.
And what are the names of those 2 processes?
develop
project
charter
identify stakeholders.
Everybody can see those 2 processes on the screen, one on the
Yes,
top, one on the bottom. You will do both of them. Will you have to do, as per what you understand, will you have to do both of them before planning? As per what you understand until now. It's not a trick question. So what do you think?
yes,
Yeah. If you want to move to planning, you have to finish initiating. So it means you must do both the processes. So it means before you do planning, you must do the process, whatever is required to be done in the develop charter process, and you have to do everything related to whatever is to be done and identify stakeholders. So let us first discuss one of them, develop project charter. So we already know the answer to question number 5. What is question number 5 for every process? When do you do this process? Remember question number 5? Now you know the answer. When do you do this process? Very early in the project, pretty much the first thing. In fact, the first thing in the project you do is this process, develop project charter. You have answer to question number 5. Let's talk about objective. The idea of develop project charter is irrespective of, or let me put it other way around. In some projects or in different projects, you have different amount of information already available. In different projects, depending on what happened in the project, you have different amount of information available. Maybe if you did tendering, you're most likely having more information. If this is idea of somebody in the company, you have less information. So the idea of charter is to give and produce a high level single document called as charter, which tells you a little bit about the whole project. And what are the little bit things? The little bit things are, you need to define high level objective, high level. You need to know some high level timelines, high level risks, you get the idea, high level budget, some key stakeholders. There are some assumptions, high level, some constraints. So if you look at this, the idea of the charter is to give you basic information about your project. And that is the objective of the charter. The objective of the charter is produce this document that gives you the very basic information about the project. Clear with the objective?
Yes.
So you need to answer all these, not necessarily every single one of them, because different companies may have different requirements. But in general, these are the, you will have answers to these kind of questions in the charter.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Can a project manager be assigned in the initiating phase only, or it can be assigned in the other phase as well, planning as well?
No, not even in the whole phase. Now, you know, charter is going to be pretty much the first process in the project, pretty much. You cannot move beyond this process without having project manager assigned. You can assign a project manager anytime in the earlier part of it. When I say earlier part, I mean the whole life cycle. See, when you're doing tendering, you're not going to do the project until you're awarded. But sometimes you'll say, okay, if we get this project, then of the 3 project managers, this one project manager can run the project if we get it. So it means the project managers decided even the project before the project is alive, correct? But if there is a scenario where a project is alive, and because the project is alive, you have to do initiating. And because you're doing initiating, it means you'll do charter first. Now, as soon as this is supposed to, now who does the initiating? If there's no project manager, as per PMBOK, the sponsor. As per PMBOK, if there is no project manager, who can initiate the project? Sponsor. But the sponsor is not going to sit down and write charter, right? What will the sponsor do? First thing, assign project manager, delegate. Now project manager's problem. So if there's no project manager, nobody is there to do anything. Who will do the charter? You got the answer?
So it is even before initiating phase. That's what you.
Can be before initiating. Basically, initiating is the birth of your project. But you can nominate the project manager even before the birth of the project.
Okay.
But nominate him does not mean that he's assigned already, right?
So now you close the whole thing. So you may nominate somebody, and when the project is awarded, now you assign. And you can change the assignment. There's no, I mean, the company might decide to nominate someone. Maybe by the time you get the award, it's too early or too late. And you may assign another project manager. There's no right or wrong. But the assignment of the project manager happens in the charter. Okay.
So many cases I have seen, like sometimes like what happens is like project manager leaves the project in between and just goes. So in that case, what are the complication and what all the
Yeah, that's a very good question. But when we talk about change management, just wait till we talk about change management, and your question will be better answered when we are a little bit advanced, so that we have seen a few things. Then when I answer, we can do correlation. But as a short answer to your question, if the project manager is gone, then the new project manager has to, onboard and get aligned, and it's almost like a change request, and the project manager has to get a grip on things. Maybe the team is supposed to support him, if it is impacting your project, it will impact the project, then it's like a change. Okay, but that's a different scenario. We'll talk maybe when we talk about change management. Okay, right now just let's focus on the idea of charter. It's a good question, keep it in your mind when we talk about change. We can clearly talk about it when we talk about change.
Okay.
So do you now understand the objective of charter? Yeah. So in summary, you have to answer these questions. And as you answer these questions, you don't have to have details. Some of them can be high level. Like in the case of the innovative idea, you don't know the exact duration. But when you have an agreement, do you know the exact duration? Isn't that in your contract? And don't you have penalties if you miss that timeline? Feedback, guys. I need feedback. Come on, I cannot.
No, I got one question with that actually. Like you said, project got extended and we got the penalty. So this need to be mentioned in the beginning phase of the project, or it is not required?
No, usually those things are in the contract if you're doing a tender. So the project team has to take care of those things. And if you have a project with liquidated damages like penalties, then it's actually a constraint. Then it's not a constraint, sorry, it's a risk. And as part of your planning for risks, you'll have to factor this, and you'll have to find a way to make sure, you'll have to find a way that this situation is always avoided. Okay. So let me, again, guys, I'm getting feedback, but I think I still need more feedback, especially if I have a question, if I ask you a question, I need, it has to be two-way. Give me feedback. Your simple feedback helps me move smoothly. Otherwise, my whole thing gets upset, in terms of rhythm. My rhythm is requiring constant push. A small push is enough. When you're doing this seesaw, not seesaw, what is it called? The swing. When you do a swing, when you put your kid in the swing, you have to push hard in the beginning, right? But once the guy is swinging, every now and then you give one small push, he'll continue to swing, correct? So yeah, I'm already swinging, okay? All I'm asking you is to give me that small push every now and then. I need that. Otherwise, I will slow down. Clear with the objective? Now is the time you say yes or you say no. Clear with the objective?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
If it is clear, then it's clear. If not, you say no, or you nod. Like Srilal can nod and I can see. All right, now let's take different scenarios, okay? Let's take different scenarios. Okay, today is I'm not, it could be psychology and could be something with my head, okay? I don't know what's happening. So let's take different scenarios and understand the inputs required. Now, before we talk about inputs, isn't your objective going to be the same no matter what is the background behind which the project started? Like if you did tender, okay, good, but you still have to do charter. If this project is because of somebody's innovative idea and it is approved, the company wants to do it, good, still you have to do charter. So the objective doesn't change no matter what is happening in the project, correct? But your inputs are different depending on where you're coming from. Now, in a big company or in bigger companies, don't the departments have to submit for approval for budget? The same thing happens in even the small companies, right? Let's take some big company like, I don't know, one of the universities, one of the oil companies, one of, like Qatar Foundation or something like this. If the team wants to do an internal project, don't they have to submit for approval?
The budget is decided well in advance.
The budget is decided well in advance, but don't they have to go and apply and get that budget?
Definitely, they
Yes.
need to go for approval before going for anything.
Exactly. Now, how do they go for approval? They knock on somebody's door, or normally they do what is called as a business case, or they will do benefit management plan and show to the company, if we do this project, these are the benefits and so on and so forth. And then this is the cost and this is the timeline, right?
Yes.
And then if the company management likes the idea, what is being shown in the business case, they will approve the project, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Now in your business, now assume you are working for a company like this and you are the project manager and the project is approved. Now if the project is approved, doesn't it mean that there must have been a business case done before?
Yes.
Internal project.
It is.
Yeah.
It is understood now. So if you are the project manager, why reinvent the wheel? What do you want to do in the charter? What do you want to do? What is the objective of charter? So you understand the situation. There was a business case in the past and your company selected the project and now you're the assigned project manager. It means now you have to do the charter. So what will you do in the charter? What do you want to do in the charter?
Implementation of the old case?
No, the implementation by then.
No, not implementation. I don't know how to phrase it.
How the charter? Yeah. You want to answer these questions, no?
Yeah. Assign PM summary budget.
Yeah. So what do you write in the charter? Tell me again, what do you want to write in the charter? Generalize. Okay. Don't have to start from the top. Read anything from the middle. Tell me what will be the content of your charter.
Assign project managers.
Okay, fine. That's done. What next? What will be in the
Stakeholder
charter?
you have to identify.
Okay.
Stakeholders, please.
So one of the sections in the charter is list of key stakeholders. What is the name of another section in the charter?
Budget.
Budget. You'll say budget and you'll put whatever is the budget that you know. What can be another section in the charter?
How much you will take for doing this project? Timing.
Yeah. So that's your budget.
Duration.
What else? Duration. How much time you will take? Duration.
Risk involved.
Risk involved. You get the idea? Now hang on a minute. Don't you think the business guys already had all similar questions, if not all, similar questions answered in your business case?
Yes.
They would have put in the business case the objective of the project. They would have put in the business case the money they want, the time they will take. Correct?
Yes.
So if you are the project manager now, make your life easy, find the business case. Why is it in the inputs? Because it is existing even before you do charter. Open the business case and you write everything from business case into a new document called as project charter. Mabruk, your charter is ready. Khalas, you're done. Now you move on. You go to the next process. Identify stakeholders. Done. This is scenario number one. What is the scenario number one? Maybe like in a big company, internal project, because you have business case. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Now, another scenario, completely different scenario. Remember, as we are talking right now, there are literally millions of projects worldwide. So we need to do scenarios. There could be another scenario where we are all subcontractors. But today we are doing the project because we got the award letter yesterday. That's why today we are starting the project. You get the idea? We will not start the project without having an award.
Even if even if it is awarded yesterday, are we able to start it on the next business day? How it is
Habibi, that's
possible?
not the point. Srilal, you need to see where to focus on. Okay. Right now, the focus is not in figuring out How soon will the project start after the contract? Okay, that's figurative
Okay.
speech. Maybe they gave us last week. That's not the focus. So don't highlight things which are not important. So maybe last week. Okay, it doesn't matter. We have a contract. That's why we are doing the project. Simple. Yeah. So, but here's the thing again. Here's the thing again. You are the project manager. Now you want to do the chart. It means first thing you want to do is do the charter. Now, how can you make your life easy if you are the subcontractor and you have this contract with you? Will your contract or agreement have answers to the questions you're looking for? Will it not have answers to these questions?
It will be.
It will be. Make your life easy. Go find that contract or bring the team who knows the contract, sit with them and ask them, or you read or you ask them, okay, tell me the high level scope. You write down. Okay, you ask them, tell me the timeline. Either you read or you ask the contract. So what is the input in that case? Do you have business case you're looking at, or you're looking at something else? You're looking at
agreements.
Agreement. So it doesn't mean that you always will have all the inputs with you. So you need to know what are all the possible scenarios, what scenario can make which input available to you. So now you have some understanding that in some kind of a big company, most of the internal projects, I'm using the word most, not all of them, and not all companies, they may have a business case done before they do the approval of the budget. And if you are the project manager of that project, which is approved, go find the business case, you're done with the charter. Move on. Another completely different scenario, you were the subcontractor. Somebody in the company did procurement and tendering, and of course we'll assume that they did it properly and everybody was involved, and hopefully that most likely the tender was done in the right basis, because even in the tender you have to give some high level timelines, things like that. So we'll assume that all of that happened. Now you are the project manager, and if you have to do the charter, go find that agreement. That's why agreement is also in the inputs. Why is it in the inputs? It's already available, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So these are the two possible scenarios. Now, can you, in the third scenario, start a project which possibly has no agreement and possibly has no business case? Can you have a project which has to be done, which has nothing available?
Yes.
How about that idea? Remember that idea, that innovative idea?
Yes,
That
it can
innovative
be.
idea has nothing, only idea in somebody's mind. That's what is called as concept to product, right? In that case, you don't have business case, you don't have agreement, but you are the project manager. Now you got to do the project. What will be the first thing you will do?
Business case.
Yeah, but business case, typical use of business case is before the project. You don't need the budget approval. Already the budget is approved. So you don't need to do business case. You got to focus on the charter now. So this is where you need to understand the tools. In that scenario, what will you do most likely? You will call for a meeting, put this as bullet points, and you will say, okay, let's start with bullet number 1, and you guys help me get the answers to bullet number 1. Then we move to bullet number 2. What are you doing now? You are still trying to make a charter, but you are trying to get that through meetings. Is the tool and technique becoming highlighted now?
Yes.
Yeah. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that you don't have to do meetings when you have a business case and agreement, but in this scenario, the tool is becoming even more clear. So look at the tools and see how, try to connect the dots. In what, see, okay, of course, meeting is kind of understood, but brainstorming can happen in the case where nobody knows the real budget and they're trying to estimate. So one way of estimating is basically your brainstorming, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you do what is called as a focus groups, meaning that focus group means you're bringing some specific people. You're only bringing engineering department. You're only bringing, for example, I don't know, operations department, because you need to get some costing done. Okay, focus groups. And of course, interviews is like more of one-on-one, Usually interviews is more like one-to-one, you just go to somebody's office, sit down, have a discussion, or you call for a group meeting. It's like, So in this discussion, the idea was to walk through all the 5 questions. So let me ask you those questions and do your best in answering. Don't have to be 100% right, but if you are, that's amazing. But in your own words, tell me what is the objective of developed charter process, project charter process.
So yeah, it will list all the details about the project.
Exactly. Keep it simple. And the best way to explain something is in a simplified concept. As a matter of fact, if you are able to explain something in a simplified manner, it means you've really clearly understood it. So exactly that is the idea of charter. Can you say that again?
List all the components of the project.
Basically summarize your project. Another way to think about it is you're summarizing your whole project in one page, correct? Khalas, this is the objective of charter. If you understood this, you understood the objective. Now, what can be the inputs that you can utilize, and give me a little bit more details about the inputs? Do you have all the inputs with you all the time? Do you have business case and agreement every single time?
Not possible.
Not possible. Not necessary, not possible. Either way, Now, then tell me more. In what scenario will you have a business case or benefit management plan? Generally, in what scenario?
When you have a project idea in mind, you will prepare a business case.
That could be one scenario. Yeah. What else? There could be another scenario where you're, like these big companies.
Subcontracting cases.
Now, subcontracting will have likelihood of having what? Which input?
Agreements.
The agreements. If you're a subcontractor, you almost always have an agreement, right? So that is your agreement. Clear with the business case and agreement?
Yes.
Now, what is the output called as?
Project charter.
All right. Now, logically, what are some of the tools that you think you can apply? Logically, without having to memorize. You don't have to memorize. Logically, what?
Meetings.
Meetings, the first thing that can come to your mind is meetings. You will sit down with people and talk. Meetings, and then depending on certain instances, you can do like brainstorming, sometimes maybe focus groups. Expert judgment means you're taking advice, or you're taking like a subject matter expert opinion. They call it as advisors, in PMBOK. Who can be examples of advisors? Your sponsor can be an advisor. Your in your company, you just joined the company, but you have already a project manager in the company. So you can take advice from the project manager. Go to the project manager office, expert judgment, and say, okay, Habibi, you look like to be in the company for a long time. Tell me how things happen here. How do you think I should do the charter? What are you doing? You're doing expert judgment. Okay, advice, taking advice, or taking a recommendation or suggestions. You get the idea? advise, they use the word, I think, advise. Advisors. Okay. So input clear. I mean, no need to memorize, right? Right now, as you read them, okay, what was the idea behind enterprise environmental factors, or what is enterprise environmental factor?
Enterprise environment factor, just to tell you in like short, like each company has their own policy, or like each country also has their own policy that is called as enterprise
No, actually, what you're
environment.
saying is exactly the second one, and it's about the company. The company will have a set of procedures, policies, companies, processes, right? All those company processes, policies, company guidelines, all of them, including templates, including information about the past projects, archiving and all, archives and all that, is all of them is put together organizational process assets. Those are assets to the company. The company owns them, the processes and, okay. So that's your asset. So which means, what is enterprise environmental factor then? Check your notes.
Nature of the organization, that's what
work culture in the
Work
organization.
culture is one thing. Now take a quick moment to see how this can be, or why this can be an input. Now, before we talk about enterprise environmental factors, let's go back to organizational process assets. Now, if your company has a process of how the project should be done, will you not apply that process?
Yeah, definitely.
That's why assets are inputs. Make sense? It's already existing in the company. No, your project is starting now, but your assets are already existing. Process, procedure, you got it? Another example. Is it possible that your company has a template of a charter, like a sample template? Possible?
Possible.
And if there is a template the company has, then you got to use it. So then it means it has to come as an input. Through which input is your template coming in? Through which input?
Organizational process assets.
Organizational process asset, because template is included in assets. Okay. So clear with why organizational process asset is input? Clear?
Clear.
Now let's go back to enterprise environmental factor. One example you gave was work culture.
Yeah.
Now,
if I may add, I don't know, maybe the rules of the sector, the government, maybe.
yeah, now here you can say government rules.
Yeah.
Is also a factor. Basically, anything internal to your company or external to your company that can affect project is factor. Example of internal factor, your company culture. Don't you think, depending on the company work culture, that will get reflected in the project?
Yes.
Certainly, yes, right? If you go to
At least
Japan,
the work timing, maybe.
Yeah, if you do the project like we do in Qatar and you do this in Japan, the guys will faint. Japanese guys, they will say, Habibi, what are you doing? This is not efficient, correct? And opposite of that, if you bring one Japanese team and put them in the one company as one project team, and everybody else is like us, they are used to working things so much different. They will again faint. Why are they fainting? Because they are used to different work culture. Again, you get the idea? Which means if we are going as a Qatar team to Japan, we better do projects like they do projects in Japan. If they say 9 a.m., The Japanese guys will be everybody in the room, including CEO at 8:55 inside the room. Us, we will probably be in the taxi at 9 a.m. and it'll be 15 minutes before we reach the building, which is fine. This is our work culture. Everybody understands this. But we cannot do this in Japan. On the same hand, if the Japanese company wins a contract in Qatar, they cannot expect Qatar to be like Japan. You get the idea? Culture, work culture, is it affecting the way your project is to be done? That's why input. Make sense?
Yeah. Like in summer, no projects are allowed to work outdoor from maybe 12 to 5.
Affecting your project.
So you have to do your own calculation again.
Now, who make this rule? We didn't make the rule. Who made the rule? Government. Actually, government make the rule, right? The government says in summer, you cannot work between 11 to 3, something like this, no? Something like this, yeah?
Yeah.
So if you're, now it doesn't matter who we are, in summer, as per the government rule, we cannot work between 11 to 3. Khalas, end of story. Affecting your project, yes. Which input? Factor. Enterprise environmental factor. You get the idea?
Yes.
Okay. So now the 5 questions, right? So we talked about objective. So tell me, somebody else, tell me what is the objective of charter? In your own words. Anybody? I think last time Rafi said the answer. So whoever said last time, don't say now. Somebody else say now. What is the objective of charter?
Link all of the project processes together, or
okay,
just down,
don't worry about processes. You know, let's say link the information about the project, and basically, instead, you know, let's think that you're bringing all the project information in one place. Charter. So this objective. Now, what do you think are the inputs that you can apply?
Business case.
Which scenario?
Benefits.
You understand the scenario behind it?
Of business case?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like an old project where we are repeating the same maybe building.
Ah, okay, Tab. Now.
Contracts.
Huh?
I mean, contractual documents.
Yeah, contractual document is one of the inputs. In what scenario do you have contractual documents? When you are a subcontractor.
Once we award a project with a client.
Yeah, typically in a client contractor relationship, you have an agreement or a contract. Basically, contract is part of agreement. Now, Mahmoud, what you said is a good point. What did you just say?
Business case, like if we are having the same project,
old projects. You said something about the old projects. Now, if you did projects in the past, it means you already have project management plan for the old projects with the company, correct?
Yes.
Question number 1. To make your life easy, will you not refer to the past project plans?
For sure.
For sure. Next question. Where is it in the inputs?
Organizational process assets.
Organization process assets. Okay.
Okay.
So that's why it's the input, because it's already existing. And you will, for example, instead of doing expert judgment, alternative, remember 1 million projects around the world, maybe you are only referring to 3-4 past projects to see how did they do the charter, because everything is available. Khalas, it means you're doing only the input asset and you're doing some kind of brainstorming, with,
to update the data.
Yeah, to get the data. Okay. You get the idea? So because this is the first process, I'm kind of trying to spend some extra time to be clear with every single thing. I'm double checking every single thing. But as we move along, some of the things you will automatically start to see and notice and understand. But now you understand every single input line by line. And
Yes.
you understand every single tool line by line.
Yes.
And the main output is the charter. Now, what was the constraint, by the way? What is the definition of constraint?
Things which is stopping to do something.
Limitation.
Yeah. Or things which are, rather than stopping, things which are
Restricting.
enforced on you, which makes you which restricts you. If I'm enforcing something on you, like, remember you have teenage kids, or remember when when we were all teenage kids, what will your mom say when you go out? Come before 9 o'clock, something like this. Restriction, right? Now you have to do everything. You have to do adjustments so that you reach home by 9. And you cannot tell your mom, I left my friend house at 9. She said, no, I told you to be at home at 9. So now you get some spanking, or, you know how mothers are, right? So this is your constraint. Any limitation on the project, any kind of a restriction on the project is constraint. Normally, when did your mother tell you come at 9? Even before you left the house, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So constraint normally should be told by the sponsor now or before now. They cannot tell you in planning, by the way, this is the constraint. Not allowed, not a best practice. Okay. Usually your sponsor or the key stakeholders who you're already engaged with, they will give you the constraint. If not, you should ask, what are the constraints of the project? Got to know. But in simple terms, you know what is a constraint as a definition. And as a best practice, constraints are usually made clear very early in the project, many times even before the project starts. And the idea here is constraints should be documented along with the charter. Okay, constraints should be documented along with the charter. There's nothing wrong with having a section in the charter that says these are the constraints. There's nothing wrong with that. But as per PMBOK, you got this thing you have to memorize, that constraints are part of assumption log.
Okay.
Memorize. Now that doesn't mean that in the charter you cannot have a section called constraints. You do whatever you want to do in the charter related to constraints, but it should separately be listed as assumption log or in assumption log. So now you know both the outputs.
Yes.
A question.
Make it 2. Yeah.
This assumption is related to the assumption that we have studied, like the execution, the
yes.
expectation during the execution.
In the planning, you make a lot of assumptions. So this assumption log, you create a document called assumption log, and in the planning you keep updating it. You see, so did I even answer the question you were trying to ask, or?
No, I mean, we went through an assumption and constraints are the same subject.
True.
That was expectations during.
I think. See, just by the name, it's very clear. You will list all the assumptions in the assumption log. Whatever you know until now in the chart in this stage, because you will get to know many more assumptions in planning. So whenever you have assumptions, you will come and open assumption log, put it there. However, constraints are also part of the same document. So you have another section, maybe it's an Excel sheet, sheet number 1, assumptions, sheet number 2, constraints. Okay. All right. Let's answer this question on the top. What happens if there is no business case or agreement in the project? You're the project manager, you're the assigned project manager, and your project has no agreement and your project has no business case. Mabruk, what do you do?
You start from zero,
you start from zero. How do you build upon that?
You collect the data. I mean,
exactly. Tell me, continue. You will collect the data.
They call like entrepreneurs recently.
Yeah, maybe you'll refer to past projects. Maybe what are all the different? Maybe maybe you do expert judgment. Maybe you call the project manager. Say, "Khalas, sit with me today the whole day. Explain to me what I should do." Why? Because I have nothing with me. Somebody told me this is the project. You get that? I'm just trying to dramatize. You will do whatever is necessary, but still you got to do the charter, and you have ways to get it done. Either you refer to the past projects, it means you're looking at assets, or you meet with the project manager, expert judgment. In this scenario, the project manager will act as an advisor. In a different scenario, in a different process, maybe somebody else can be the advisor. But right now, the previous project manager is the advisor. Or call for meeting, call your important stakeholders that you already know or that you already think are the stakeholders. Call them for a meeting as Habibi, I need answer to these questions for the charter. I need to know the high level timeline. You tell me, describe to me the objective, tell me what is the expected budget. You get it done through meetings, maybe some brainstorming, or combination of all the tools. So this is what will happen, or this is what you will do if there is no agreement or a business case. Because usually if there's an agreement, your life is made easy. If there's, in case of, when you talk about making a charter, if you want to make a charter and there's an agreement, should be easier because many things are in the agreement. Same thing with the business case. Okay. By the way, today Sammy told me that, I explained to Sammy, we were talking, and for some reason, Sammy is Arabic, his mother tongue is Arabic. So whoever I talk to whose mother tongue is Arabic, I just do my funny thing with Arabic words I know. So today Sammy told me every time I use the word mazboot is wrong, meaning that mazboot means, when you say, like in English, it's like right, when you say right, mazboot means, for example, I will say we're meeting at 6 o'clock. Mazboot, it means, we're meeting at 6 o'clock, right? Something like this. Now, the way I use mazboot is, did you understand? So I will explain something and I'll ask mazboot, they told me no. Then I told him half of them also don't know Arabic, and because the timing of my use of the word mazboot, they know what I'm trying to ask. So mazboot.
Mazboot. No, I related to the accent, the way you say mazboot.
Yeah, so it means understood. Yeah, and so it
if you say mazboot means it is correct, or the coffee is mazboot.
But in a normal conversation, if I do with the accent, meaning the right emphasis, if I say mazboot, it means it's clear I'm asking, like
you're answering, not asking.
Okay. So then I will continue to use mazboot. All right. So everything in, one more thing here. Do you understand this bubble in the bottom right hand side? Did we study organization types? Functional and weak matrix. Yes. Now, this, by the way, this bubble applies to matrix. In a matrix organization, you already have the technical people plus project manager. Of course, not in the weak, but in the balanced and strong. So in the exam, always assume that the technical team has their own manager called as functional manager. And the project manager is borrowing them for the project. Okay. So this is what the bubble is. The project team reports to the functional managers in reality, and only for the project, they will do the work for the project manager. Okay. Questions? Right. Now this slide, the right side of the slide is clear. The left side of the slide you can read at home or read now. There's nothing to be explained here. The couple of things to be explained is from here, which is where is the word formalize? Here, formalize. Let's start with this formal. The charter usually, or at least as per PMBOK, should be signed by somebody like CEO or somebody like GM or somebody like this, okay? By doing that, it authorizes the project manager to use company resources and to use company money, okay? So there are 2 points here. One, the charter has to be formalized. In PMBOK, when they use the word formalize, it means official. Like, how does it become official? Some kind of signature, or whatever is the process.
Internal approval.
Yeah, some kind of approval and things like. Okay. Now with that approval, the project manager is authorized to do what? To go to the functional manager and tell the functional manager, I need 3 engineers today. Srilal, if not today, tomorrow. Okay. All right. So this is the idea of behind the word formalized. Okay. Again, those of you who are familiar with tenders, you will know these terms, LOA, LOI, this is form of award, almost like award letter.
Letter of intent.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Service, okay.
Like what again, Shihan?
See, SLA is a service level agreement.
LOI is letter of intent.
LOI is
Is LOI, letter of intent. Letter of award is LOA. Sometimes
and
the company's ministry, they will do LOI.
LOI only.
It's intent, it's a crazy thing, for us, really
They
doesn't
will
matter.
give this LOI to too many subcontractors.
See, LOI can be cancelled anytime if they are
Yeah.
Correct.
qualify for that.
Yeah, so
But
some
LOI means it's like we are shortlisted.
Their intent only. They don't want to find that.
Correct.
LOA is the right one. If we get LOA, that means we got project awarded. LOI can change anytime.
Yes, agreed. That's correct. That's the LOA is the clear-cut award. They cannot
Yes.
do games in LOA, but in yeah. So that's the whole idea. Okay. Any questions about this slide?
No, pretty clear.
Okay. Well, with that, we kind of complete the very first process. All right. And that was your charter. Now, what is odd with this slide? What is odd? And don't even bother reading inside the slide, okay? Just look at the heading here because it's high level. Something is wrong at a high level. It's not about anything in the text, okay? So what do you think is odd with this slide?
More about money.
More about money, or what did you say?
I mean, it's more about rather than the execution part, it coming into the budgetary requirement.
Where is budgetary requirement?
Like
No, that's not the
documents. Everything is there.
Yeah. Like I said, don't even read inputs and tools and outputs. It's even higher level than that. Something is off. Even there's something even greater than that which is off.
Stakeholder analysis.
That there's nothing. This isn't right. This is right. It's stakeholder analysis. But something is off. Think. How do you say think in Arabic?
فكر.
Huh? Fikr. Yes, fikr. Because we have the same in my mother tongue is Urdu. We use the word, but in a different sense. Fikr means worry. See, the way we use fikr in our language is worry. When you worry about, when you're concerned, then you say fikr, in Urdu. But in Arabic, fikr means think. Yeah, fikra. I think Quran also says fikr, right?
فكرة is like an idea.
To think, So, yalla, fikr. Something is wrong in this slide. Figure out.
Procurement documents.
لا هذا ما في details. هذا details requirement document هذا details stakeholder analysis هذا detail. هذا ما في مشكل. Mushkil shaitani. The problem is high level. It's not about the details. You want me to give you a hint? Okay, I'll give you a hint. The hint is by giving your task. Tell me the grid of identify stakeholders.
What? Tell me.
Grid.
It's in the project stakeholder management, right? In knowledge area.
This is stakeholder. The knowledge area is, what is the, tell me the process name and knowledge area?
Initiating
Initiating, Mazboot, and?
project stakeholder management.
Okay. Now tell me what is odd with the slide.
I got it. What is the odd actually?
Tell
Instead
me.
of identify stakeholder, the title should be project stakeholder management.
Projects, is that the new, no, what you're telling me is the name of the knowledge area. This is the name of the process. Identify stakeholder is the correct name of the process.
So that was the thing actually, like
Which knowledge area is this from?
project stakeholder management.
What knowledge area are we studying?
Initiating.
No, we're not studying. We're studying the knowledge area, right? Okay, yes, it is an initial. But what knowledge area are we studying right now? Charter is from which knowledge area?
Management integration, project management.
No, charter is from which knowledge area?
Project stakeholder management.
La, charter.
Project integration management.
Project initiation management.
Integration, you know. Now, we said we'll study integration management. Means we should study the next process after charter should be from integration. See, we are going to study integration, right? This is integration, right? Left to right is integration. If you do charter, if you open PMBOK, 4.1 is charter, 4.2 is develop project management plan. Integration, 4.3 is direct manage project work. Okay, but now I'm showing you identify stakeholders. Instead of showing you develop project management plan, I'm showing you identify stakeholders. You're studying what? Which knowledge? Which chapter are you studying? Chapter 4. What is chapter 4? Integration. So you should cover only these processes. No, you should cover only these processes, not the identify stakeholders. Correct?
No.
Okay. So which? Okay. Tell me. Tell me which part you got.
What you have said is correct, but I don't think we can go to planning without identifying the stakeholders.
That's another point. So the question is different now. If I change the question to, what all should be done before I can start planning, then you will say, first do the charter and then do what? Then do
identify stakeholders.
Then to identify stakeholders. Now, what is the pattern? You're establishing a pattern in the project. If you want to do a project, what is the first thing you will do in the project? Which process?
Initiate.
Develop project charter.
That's the first process. What is the second? There is only one option for second process. Which is the second process you will do in your project?
Identify stakeholders.
Identify stakeholders, because if you don't do identify stakeholders, you cannot go to planning. Understood? You got to finish initiating to go to planning, correct? You want to go to planning, so Habibi, finish initiating. Initiating has two processes. Okay, I'm hoping that I'm making sense. If not, you just say, I didn't understand what you just said. Literally, you tell me this last sentence, I didn't understand. I'll explain it again. If it happens to you, Tell me, because I cannot read minds. Not yet.
I didn't get, sir.
Thank you. Why didn't, good, Shihab,
Yes.
never hesitate to ask me and ask me to tell the last sentence or the last part. Never hesitate. You are here to understand the words coming out of my mouth.
Yes.
Okay? So let's ask a question. The question is, I want to do planning.
Okay.
So what should I have to complete before I do planning? What should I do in the project? You have
Initiating.
to do initiating. That's the correct answer. You have to finish initiating before you go to planning. Everybody
Yes.
got this? Now let us ask the next question. What does it mean for you to finish initiating? What all do you have to do to finish initiating?
We need to finish both this process.
Complete the two
Tell me the
process.
names one by one, slowly. Tell me the names. One process is,
Developing project charter.
this is one process. You must do develop project charter. What is the second process you must do?
Identify stakeholders.
Only after you do charter and after you do identify stakeholders, you can claim initiating is finished. Then I can go to planning.
Yes.
All right. So
Yes.
that's why I'm showing you identify stakeholders now. We're building that process flow chart in your mind. So after you do charter, what is the only other process you can do after you do charter?
Identifying stakeholders.
And which knowledge area is this from?
Project stakeholder management.
And why is it odd right now? Because are we studying project stakeholder management right now? Okay, are we studying initiating process group or we are studying integration knowledge area? What are we studying? Are we studying initiating process group or are we studying integration management knowledge area? What are we studying? Chapter 4.
Management.
Project integration management.
So is this process from integration management? Identify stakeholders.
No.
Yes.
Identify stakeholders. Is it from integration management knowledge area?
No.
That is why it is odd. I'm trying to teach you integration and showing you identify stakeholders. That is why it is odd.
Okay.
But why are we looking at this? Because if you are doing an actual project and if you've just finished your charter, you have only one option to do.
Yes.
Identify stakeholders. Okay. What is the idea? So now that we're looking at the process, let's spend 5 minutes to complete this process. We'll do the whole discussion. This process has the same, it's a new process. So it means you have 5 questions to understand. What is the objective? What are the inputs? What are the tools? What is the output? And when do you do the process? And for identify stakeholders, you already know the answer to question number 5. When do you do this process?
After completing the charter.
And before you go to
Planning.
Planning.
So you know exactly when you do this. You know the one before and you know the one after. Or at least you know the before and you know the after. One of them is the process, the other one is the whole process group.
Yes.
Is everybody okay and clear with this? Now let's go into the details of this guy. So we already answered question number 5. When do you do the process? You have the answer. If you're not, you ask me. So objective of the process is, first thing that you do to understand the objective of this process is to add the word all, A-L-L, all. Basically, this process is to identify all stakeholders. This process is to identify, just add that one word, you already described the objective. And this is not, okay, fine, it's identify stakeholders, but identify all stakeholders. Now, in what scenario can you actually identify? Okay, all means, small side note, 95% plus is equal to all. Okay, all is not 100.00. All is 95% plus is good, is enough to say all. because I'm sure that, there'll be some stakeholders you identify later, like 2, 3, 4 stakeholders in a big complicated project. It's okay to miss 1 or 2, 3 stakeholders in a big complicated project, and you can identify them somewhere in planning, engage them and so on and so forth. So all here is 90% plus. Now, having cleared that, under what circumstance can you even identify 90% of the stakeholders? Which kind of a project? In which kind of a project you can actually identify, in which kind of a project, as soon as you do the charter, before you do the planning, in which kind of a project can you identify 90% of the stakeholders? Tell me the scenario.
Business case?
The business case, mumkin, but what is the scenario?
Internal projects.
So why cannot this be done in an external project? If you're a contractor, why cannot you identify all the stakeholders? What's limiting you? If you're a contractor and you won an award, I think you can still identify all stakeholders. All equal to 9, all means 90% plus.
Okay.
Cannot you do that when you are a contractor, when you start the project? Cannot you do this?
It can be.
So it doesn't, so it means not limited to internal, external. That's not where the answer is. So in what circumstance can you identify all stakeholders? What is the condition? What is the circumstance? What is the scenario? Think. There's one condition. You got to trace that condition. What's the difference between agile and waterfall?
Period.
Agile is a rigid project.
No, opposite. Waterfall is rigid.
So waterfall is rigid. Agile is a fluctuating.
Rigid. Waterfall is rigid from what point of view?
Scope.
Attention. What is rigid in waterfall again? You're right.
Rigid
what you said is correct. So tell me what the answer is correct. So what is rigid in waterfall?
Where the scope is fixed.
Now, what does it mean the scope is rigid? It means it's predefined or already understood, or how should I say, not, think for now, it is fair to think that in a waterfall project, your scope is kind of predefined. It's fair to think. It's fair to think, right?
Yes.
So that is the scenario. In the scenario where your scope is kind of rigid or predefined, you can most likely identify all the stakeholders.
Yes.
Make sense?
Yes.
So many projects are waterfall rigid. Don't get me wrong. You can also do this, by the way, in an agile project. I'm just trying to emphasize the fact that all stakeholders can be identified before planning. This point is understood, and now you understand the basis of why it is even possible, because you already know the scope. And second point is a company, any one company, is always doing some kind of a project which is watershed. Like what I'm trying to say is that a construction company knows construction business. An IT company knows IT and everything around how to do IT projects, correct?
Yes.
So if you give me, if I'm an IT company, I'm doing IT for 20 years, you give me one new IT project, cannot I go and identify all my stakeholders?
Yeah.
If you are a construction company, you get one more construction project, cannot you go identify all the stakeholders even before planning? Cannot you do this?
Yes.
These are the, so this is why you can, this is why it's put here. This is why it's done and put even before planning. Now let's do one more thing. What happens if you miss to identify stakeholders? what happens? So let's say, you know, some stakeholders, yeah, tell me.
It will be incomplete.
Yeah, what will be incomplete? You're correct. What will be incomplete?
The process.
Yeah, maybe your scope is incomplete, your processes are incomplete, and these guys will wake up in the middle of the project and cause a lot of issues for you if some of the stakeholders are missed in the beginning. Correct?
It will create constraint.
Will create constraint. Yeah, actually, not. Yeah, there are, not necessarily constraint. They can make changes, or they will ask for changes, or they will put forward their requirements, which will in turn make you do changes. Maybe you already proceeded in direction one. Now they say, no, this is okay, fine, but we need also ta 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 ta. Now you need to redo some work. You need to go change the plans. So is it better to start the project with all the stakeholders identified?
Yes.
Better. That's
Before
why,
planning.
and we discussed that it is also possible in majority of the projects. That's why you identify stakeholders even before planning. All right, now let's do this. Let's take a break for now. And when we come back, clear with the objective. By the way, we just discussed the objective. And now to identify all your stakeholders, uh, you know, you don't have anything else in the project right now, except maybe project charter. You already know your company background, or company factors, like factors in which you're doing the project, that can help. Knowing the factors can help you identify stakeholders. Uh, Maybe there's a process document that forces you to engage 3 departments in your company: quality management, safety management, environment, some department. Khalas, you already know stakeholders. Why? Because some company policy. You get the idea?
Yes.
So this is why assets are assets lead you to find stakeholders, factors lead you to find stakeholders, and your procurement documents can be things like your vendors, suppliers, and things like that. Most importantly, remember that you are doing a project which is not brand new to you.
Okay.
You've been doing so many projects in the past. It means by looking at the charter, through your expertise, you can say, this is my all the stakeholders I'll get engaged with. So charter is the primary input. Why? Because you're always applying your experience. In any given company, the company is doing projects which they're familiar with. Okay. If not, you can always do some meetings. You can always do expert judgment. Now, stakeholder analysis is the next slide, which is the slide here. So I will explain the stakeholder analysis after the break. But before we go on a break, questions. I mean, let's recap the questions. Are you clear with when this happens?
Yes.
And are you clear with whatever this process is? What is it that you're doing in this process?
Yes.
You understand the primary input. What is the primary input? Most important input?
Project charter.
Charter. Just by reading the charter, you can say, oh no, these are all my stakeholders. Why? Because of experience. And the tools, except the stakeholder analysis, the other 2 tools are kind of straightforward to you.
Sorry.
Yeah, bless you. Yeah. And the output is called that one that Excel sheet, maybe column A, you write all the names. That whole sheet or that list of names is called stakeholder register. Okay. So we take a break, come back and discuss what is stakeholder analysis. Okay. But before we go to break, questions?
So the question is just a comment from my side. I like the way they put the charter in the stakeholders input.
This is for inputs, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I mean the project charter, the inputs of the stakeholder. Otherwise, you cannot move to the next part.
I think you're saying that you need, because the here idea is to identify all stakeholders, And to do your charter, you don't have to go and talk to all stakeholders. Of course, you do meetings, and most likely everybody you're doing the meeting with is already your stakeholder. But and you put in the charter also some stakeholders, right? Now, what is the difference between the stakeholder list here and what you're doing in the next process? What's the difference? So in your charter, you have now you go and see in the charter you already have stakeholder list. So what's the difference between this stakeholder list and what you're trying to do in this process? What's the difference?
Might be you need to identify their roles and involvement in the project. In earlier,
might be, but there's something even more dramatic and drastic about what you're saying. Might be the thing, but it's maybe a minor aspect. What's the primary
differentiating internal and external stakeholders?
No, that can happen in both the places. In the charter, you can say internal 2 names, external 2 names. Here also, you can have internal names, external names. What's the difference between identify stakeholder process and the stakeholder list in your charter? What's the difference?
In identifying, we need to identify the roles and responsibility and involvement.
You can do the same thing in the charter. You'll say name of the stakeholder, role and responsibility, do the design work, and help in approval. Role responsibility in the charter.
Oh, the first one in the charter is a list, and here is a detailed stakeholder income and out.
That's the difference. In the charter is maybe 5 names, maybe maximum, maybe 10 names. Here you have all the names. If you have 100 stakeholders, 100 names.
Okay, this is identify all stakeholders.
That's the difference. You can have roles responsibility both the places if you want. Normally you don't, but actually you don't have roles responsibility, right? Here we are not worried about who's going to do what. That means your roles and responsibility is giving roles and tasks against stakeholder that you do somewhere else. Here you just want to know who are my stakeholders. That's it. Here is details. Charter is summary, important ones. Here is all. Everybody got the difference?
Yes.
So let's go on a break, and never ever hesitate to ask me to repeat anything I've said or anything not clear. And remember guys, the slides are more for me, okay? I just want to remind you. Right now, you're here not to even, well, the slides are good for you to look at, but it's even more important for you to be with me in the discussion. Understand the words coming out of my mouth. That's the best thing you can do right now. Okay. If not, ask. Okay. Never hesitate to ask. All right. So with that, let's go on a break.
How long is the break?
Yeah. Do you? All right. Let's get started. I hope you guys are back. All right. So before the break, we went through the process, and now we'll talk about stakeholder analysis, which obviously is going to happen on top of identifying your stakeholders. So as you identify your stakeholders, as you identify them, you will do your stakeholder analysis. Okay? And the whole idea of stakeholder analysis is that question, is every stakeholder equally important?
Yes, it is. They are important.
They're important, but is everybody equally important?
No, not equally, but depends.
Yeah, so some of them are more important, some of them are less important. All of them are stakeholders, but some of them are more relevant, some of them are less relevant. Some of them have a greater interest, some of them have lesser interest, some of them have more power, some of them less power, correct? Like there's variation, right? Now the whole idea of your stakeholder analysis is, guys, I have this one call. So what we'll do now is discuss a way in which you can group your stakeholders, and you can group them into 4 groups, starting from the most important to the least important. They're all important, they're all relevant, but there's a varying degree of relevance, right? So to sort any single list, you need to use 2 parameters to sort any given list, okay? And we'll look at this again in risk management. In risk management also, you have risks, and not all risks are equally critical, right? So when you do risk analysis, you will do scoring on 2 parameters, and the 2 common parameters are probability, impact. So here we have stakeholder analysis to be done. So you need to find 2 parameters, and the most common 2 parameters are, one of them is power. Now here, power is not the position. It can be, but it is not. Power here is the ability of the stakeholder to affect your project. And you can give 2 scores. Stakeholder analysis is more straightforward. You can give high power or low power. So that will put them, this is your dividing line, right? For the power, this is your power, low and high. This is your low, this is your high. You get the idea, just give 2 scores. If you give score of 1 to 10, anybody who has got higher than 5 score is high power. Anybody who got a score lower than 5 is low power, right? Straightforward. So this is one parameter, power. Now power here means what again? Power here means the ability of what? The authority or the ability? What is power?
Authority.
Could be authority, but even more important, you don't look at the authority, but you look at the ability of the stakeholder to affect your project. For example, to begin with, is your team stakeholder, project team, the execution team, are they stakeholders?
Yes.
Is your sponsor also stakeholder?
Yeah.
What will you give as a power score to both of them? If you have to choose between low and high, what will you give?
The partners are the high, the team is lower.
The team is low, but isn't the team doing the whole project from scratch? Isn't the team responsible for making the project successful? Isn't the team responsible for doing the plans, getting the approvals? So from the project point of view, they are shaping up the whole project, right? So power is not about position. Isn't the team shaping up the whole project? So wouldn't that make them high power? You get the idea?
Until we go through all of the details, I mean, there is several intervals. The client, as an example, is a stakeholder, and he has a high power.
Yes, so client is easy, high power, easy, good, that's correct. But how about project team? Client is doing nothing, just giving you money. Who's doing the project? The project team is doing the project. So from that analysis, that's why I said it's not about position. From that analysis, wouldn't the project team also have high power?
No. Again, we are talking general, but it depends on what am I taking? Am I taking or am I giving?
Think of execution team. Who's doing execution for the project? That team.
So power and responsibility both are same here or different?
No, different. This is not about responsibility. This is about ability to affect your project. Ability to affect your project. Okay, if the whole execution team goes on a strike, can you do your project?
No.
if your whole team is working hard to make the project get done on time, is it not, let's say that you have a time constraint and the client says, we have 6 months, but we will really like it if you do it in 5 months. And the team works very hard and gets it done in 5 months. Possible, right?
Possible, but it depends on the factors.
Factor shaitani.
No, I mean giving or taking from
from ability point of view, isn't your team shaping up the project, helping the project be on track, controlling the project? They are the one who making the project successful. Who is doing the work? They are the one doing the work. No team, no project. So power is high or low?
It is high.
High. Khalas.
But in different intervals.
This is how here you need to look, and here this is how you analyze power. This is nothing about job title.
No, it's not job title. I'll repeat again. It depends on am I gaining, receiving, or am I giving? Based on that, I can make my end.
What do you mean gaining or?
Because you are talking about my team and my sponsor. Yeah. I'm in the middle, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm part of this project.
You're part of the project, okay.
So the sponsor is high, but who is higher, the sponsor or the team, is something different. Right? Not in a position.
No. Say slowly. So you are the project. You are there in the middle. Yes. Sponsor is high from what point?
He's a sponsor. If he's not funding the project,
you're giving the power score, right?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Sponsor high power. Now, question: why are you giving the sponsor high score for power? They're decision makers. They're giving money. They're decision makers, right?
Correct.
If they say go this direction, you have to go this direction. Just go this direction, you got to go. Correct. So high power, clear.
True.
Now again, you have to think of your project. From project point of view, they can shape the project any way they want. Correct, sponsor? Now, isn't the team doing the same? The team is helping you fulfill that. So that's why the team also has what? High power. You get the idea? Yeah. Even the team ability to make the project successful is a big thing. So high power. And they will normally they will do everything that they can do to make the project successful. So they're affecting, they're contributing, they're making the project successful. So the power is high. Make sense? Now this is one criteria, power. Everybody clear with how you give power score? Look at the degree of effect the stakeholder has on your project. Give a scale of 1 to 10. You get the idea? Power. Now, you can also do an analysis on a second parameter called as interest. You can always analyze, give a scale of 1 to 10. How much is the interest of this stakeholder in your project? Again, sponsor, what will you give interest level? 1 to low or high, or 1 to 10? What will you give for sponsor interest?
Low.
They're investors. They have their money in the project. So they will want to always know what is the return on my money, what is the return on my investment, or what is, or they can be internal sponsor. So it means they will say, they look at the benefit. So they actually want the project done. That's why they're investing in it. So from that aspect, you might say they have high interest, because either they're giving money, or they're giving approval, or they're giving decision, So this is how you can analyze interest. Now the same thing goes with the project team. What do you think is the interest of project team? Low or high? Okay, Rafi, I think you wanted to say high, so right? Higher. Why? Because they are working on the project. They know that if they don't do the project work, they will probably not have the job or something like this, right? I mean, they know that they have that sense of responsibility, so they will do the project work. They will do if you tell the team this is the work needed to be done, they will do it, right?
Yeah.
It means if you translate that to interest, high interest.
Right.
All right. So, these are the two parameters. And as you group your stakeholders, you can have in 4 compartments. Either they have high power and high interest. Give me examples of stakeholders who fit here. High power, high interest.
Investors.
Investors. Tell me more examples. We just discussed another one.
Team.
Team. Project team. So that is sponsor, client, typical candidates. Now, there is another group of stakeholders who have high power but very low interest in your project. Can you think of some typical high power, low interest? There is one typical group. Who?
Sponsor, right?
No, sponsor is high. Sponsor has high. Sponsor is giving money. He will be on your back and tell you make the project successful. So high interest. They're investing. They care.
High power and low interest.
Yeah, there's one type of stakeholder who don't care about your project. They will say khali wali. Literally, they'll say khali wali. But they are very, very high power. Who?
Supplier.
You.
Lala, supplier high interest. Because supplier doesn't give material, supplier doesn't not get money. So supplier high interest. Who?
CEO.
Say that again. Who?
CEO.
Maybe because CEOs not involved in the project. Maybe possible.
HR manager.
Function
HR
manager.
HR manager.
No. Functional manager from
No,
the
not
company.
function.
Maybe
Human resources manager.
Maybe human resource manager. Yeah, that's
Who's
maybe
doing
one.
firing and hiring. Yeah.
How about when you need ministry approvals? You want to do road work and you need some silly guy to give some stamp on your paper somewhere sitting. Do you think that his whole ministry care for your project?
No.
They'll say "Khalli walli, who mamananta," right? Yes, I need your stamp. So they don't care. Correct? I mean, they don't have interest. Why? Because they're ministry. I mean, it's not their project. We need their stamp. And they don't care about your project. They're ministry. But you need their stamp. They are your stakeholders. You need their approval. High power, low interest. Okay. Similarly, you can have some stakeholders. The next two stakeholders have low power. So one of them has high interest, one of them has low interest. But they both have low power. Low power, high interest, one group. Low power, low interest, another group. So in terms of importance, high for you are your most important stakeholders. Second most important stakeholders, high power, low interest. Third most important, or maybe equal to that, is low power, high interest, maybe slightly less. And even the lowest important for you is low. They're still stakeholders, still important, but lowest. Low. Okay. Okay. Mazboot?
مظبوط. واضح.
All right. Now, here we are using how many parameters in this example, in this process? How many parameters we used?
4.
Yeah, these are the 4 quadrants. We came with the 4 quadrants because of how many parameters?
2 parameters.
2 parameters.
And what are the 2 parameters in our example?
High and low.
Interest and
No, that's the
power.
scoring. But what are the
Interest and-
parameters?
Interest
Power.
and power.
Interest and power.
Okay, these are the 2 parameters. Now, in a salience model, you see this diagram here, it uses more than 2. In this example, each circle is a parameter. So 3 parameters in this. So when you use 2 parameters, you get 4 groups, right? When you use 3 parameters, I think you get 7 or something like this. I forgot, 7 or 8. You get 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You get 7. Okay. In some projects, depending on your project, sometimes you have to use 3 parameters. Then you have 7 group of stakeholders. I think the most important one are in the middle, I think. And the second most important one are with the 2 overlaps. So this is most important. The gray is most important. This red, purple, and green is second most important. And the third most important is this yellow, this pink, and the blue. You get the idea? Okay. Questions? All right, let's move on. So far, so good. Now,
how important to review that
I'm sorry,
analysis?
say that again.
How important to review this analysis in the PMP exam?
This analysis is important. That's why we spent like a good 10-15 minutes.
I understand. I mean, what would be the questions? Examples of the high, low, low, low?
They can ask indirect questions here. They might, I mean, I'm just thinking out loud. They might ask you a question like they might ask questions about high, or they might possibly ask, see what you see here. See here, this your strategy is managed them closely, right? So again, there's the kind of questions possibly they can ask. One example of that is they can ask you to differentiate, or they can ask you what might be your strategy. This is your strategy and how you deal with them. These guys you manage very closely. These guys you keep them satisfied. Okay, and these guys you keep informed. Right? And so you have these groups. So they might ask you what is the best strategy to deal with the stakeholders with high power, low interest. So you keep them satisfied. This is slightly less effort than managing closely. Who do you manage closely? Your high, the most important. Okay. So we will do some practice questions, and so we have another set of practice questions for the last knowledge area. So by the time we do that, you'll have some good idea about the kind of questions they'll ask. So check also. It'll be a good idea to just because this process is from stakeholder management knowledge area. By the time you read the book and finish the stakeholder management, there's some questions from that chapter. That will give you also a better good perspective about the kind of questions that they'll ask, that can be asked. Okay. If you want, I can just quickly check I can. So let me quickly check a couple of questions from stakeholders. Let me find a short question. Okay, let me read. I'm reading question number 6 in it first. So Joe, a stakeholder on your project, has been plotted in the power interest grid as high interest with low power. Joe is high interest with low power. Okay. Now the question is, what's the exactly what I asked, what I told you? What is the best approach for managing his engagement? What is the best approach?
Keep satisfied.
Keep satisfied. Exactly. You have and choice A: make him responsible for delivering project. Keep him informed on all the decisions. Closely manage his requirements. Ignore his requirement expectation since he doesn't have the power to affect the project's outcome. So which one will you choose? Make him responsible for a deliverable, keep him informed in all the decisions, closely manage or ignore?
Closely manage.
No, closely manage is reserved for high.
Then keep him updated with all of the results.
That's the best way. So this can be one question. And I'll read the next question also. Which stakeholder management process is in the initiating process group? I won't read the answer. So which I'll show you this slide. So the question is, which stakeholder management process, let me change the question. Which stakeholder management process is in the execution process group?
Managing stakeholder management, manage stakeholder engagement.
Yeah, so this is the second question. Actually, I modified the question. The question in head first is initiating group. That is, you identify stakeholders. Okay. Okay, one more question. Which information is not included in the stakeholder register? And you have some list of answers. So since now with you guys, I'm not doing single line by line discussion. When you read the chapter, you will know the answer to this question. What is the question? Which information is not included in the stakeholder register? So I'm not covering this in the class, but when you read the chapter, you will have that idea of what is in the stakeholder register and what is not. Okay. So these are the examples of the kind of questions. Usually, most of the questions from your identify stakeholder should be easy. This knowledge area should be easy. It's one of the easy knowledge areas. The scenario questions are tough. Yeah. So clear questions, clear with the stakeholder. Now, what do you interpret so far? What do you understand so far from this slide?
The flow chart.
Yeah, what what you see now, what do you understand from what you see now?
This is the next stage of the process flow after that. I mean, initiating, then planning, executing, the 5 processes.
Yeah, exactly. So you do initiating, then planning, then execution, right?
No.
Now think of planning. Think of planning. When you do planning, think of knowledge areas. What are the different knowledge areas for which you do the planning?
We do for all the knowledge areas.
All the knowledge, pretty much all the knowledge areas, correct? There is planning process in pretty much every knowledge area, correct? Question, which knowledge area do you think you should start with first? Where do you think you should start from your planning? Which knowledge area?
Let me see what is the knowledge area. Scoop.
Okay, that's one answer. Anybody agrees or has any other idea? If you agree, you say you agree, or if not, you have other idea, you tell your other idea. So one option now is scope. One possibility, scope. Anybody who agrees with this or anybody who doesn't agree with this? I need wider engagement.
Schedule also is there.
So what do you think, what do you want to answer?
It includes scope as well as it includes schedule and other stuff also.
That's everything in planning, right? My question is, where do you start from?
Start from scope, definitely scope.
Because exactly everything in your project depends on what you want to do or what they want to get done, which is scope. Everything in your project depends only and only on what the project is required. What is the requirement of the project? And this is all part of scope. So the right answer is scope. So when you do your planning, you must always first be clear with the scope, and this goes in line with understanding what is waterfall project. By the way, the same thing applies in agile. In agile, it doesn't mean you don't know the scope. You in agile also you have to know the scope. It's done slightly different, meaning that you have the ability to determine the scope at the beginning of each sprint. Now, what was a sprint? Do you have one project is equal to one sprint or what?
One project equal to multiple sprint.
One project equal to multiple sprint. Are all the sprints same duration?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, sprint same duration. Examples of sprint duration, the most common example of sprint duration, tell me. Most common in agile is 1 week to 4 week. 1 week up to 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Actually 2 weeks is kind of almost like a common 90. Again, many projects have 2 weeks. Many projects. Some projects have 3 weeks. Some projects have 4 weeks. Some very few projects have 1 week. You know, 1 week is too tight, but in some critical projects they do 1 week. You know, it's not easy, but they do it. Now, in a sprint, before the sprint, you should know the scope of the sprint. So the difference between waterfall and sprint is that in sprint, you have so many instances where you can decide what to do next. But in agile, the whole project should be decided first. You get the difference? Agile is like one mega big super long sprint. This is, sorry, waterfall. Waterfall is like one big sprint, correct? The whole project is one mega sprint. You get the idea? Did that make sense to you? So, okay, if no, say no. If yes, say yes. Okay. All right. So, okay, this part is clear. When you do planning for especially waterfall, you got to know the scope first, right? What do you think will be the last thing that you get to close in a project plan? What is the last thing that you think will get closed?
Integration?
No, integration is actually all around. Maybe what you're saying, I think I know why you're saying integration, but other than integration, I know why you're saying integration, because in the end you put everything together, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
other than that, in terms of specific knowledge area, like scope is a specific knowledge area. Which knowledge area might be lost?
Communications?
No. Communication can have, for example, resource implication, possibly. It can have cost implication, possibly.
Stakeholder management.
No, that cannot be lost. No, you need to figure that out earlier. You see, what can be lost?
What you mean is engagement.
Okay, fine, stakeholder, but still, it's not lost. Stakeholder engagement is not lost. There's one other process which is lost. Which one? Not process, sorry, knowledge area. In planning, scope is first. What can be lost? What would be last?
Procurement.
No, even risk, no, because risk has, if you have risk, then you need to put a budget for it. So risk is not last.
Procurement.
No, same thing. Procurement means you have to figure out them. They're like your resource and you have to pay them. So you need to know how many vendors and how much they are charging you, and that will you add to the project budget. So procurement is not last.
Quality?
Quality is also not last, because again, the same thing. If you do quality plan, Quality plan has implication on the project. Maybe you have to assign resources. So after quality, you will do resource planning. And maybe quality will require you to bring in third-party inspection. So now you have to do 2 more knowledge areas. You have to do procurement to bring in the third party. And after you do quality plan, you update the procurement and then you update the cost, because you have to pay them. So cost plan will be dependent on what your quality plan says, correct? And you have to bring a third party inspector, then that's procurement. So quality is not last. What is last?
Risk.
So yeah,
We
no,
run out of.
now you're down to how many? 4 names remaining?
One or two.
Everything is over, I think.
Yeah, no, you didn't still answer. So what would be last? Not risk, not quality, not procurement.
Risk is that left.
It's
That's it.
not last. No. You still didn't tell me the answer.
Schedule.
No, okay. Okay, let's say you finish your schedule. What are the things that you do in your schedule? In your schedule, don't you sometimes make some duration long? Don't you make some duration short? Sometimes because of schedule, to make the project complete in time, because you're doing schedule, you go and add resources. Possible?
Yeah.
So schedule cannot be last, because for example, while you're doing your schedule, it's possible you will add resources, possible. So again, schedule cannot be last. So schedule is out. How many remaining? 3 remaining. You still didn't tell me the answer. Yeah, read the remaining names, we will discuss.
We read them all.
No, you didn't read all. You didn't tell me the answer. You didn't read one.
Scope management. That is only left.
The scope is the first one. What is the last one? Okay, let's do the elimination. Tell me the not. Which is not the last one we discussed just now? Tell me all the names again.
Integration. Scope.
Integration
is different.
also
Integration is different story. Technical integration is last, but that's not the focus. That's the different story. I'm talking about the knowledge area, the actual knowledge area. Scope is an actual knowledge area.
Scope.
Integration is like an umbrella.
Schedule, cost, quality.
No, let's stop slowly. Cost. Think about cost. Cost didn't work. If you guys said cost in earlier, I didn't pick it up. But
cost we said
cost,
already.
But I said no to cost. No, no.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, my bad. So yeah, my bad. Cost is the last. Everything has a cost implication. Add or remove resource, it affects your cost. Change quality plan, it will affect many things, but also cost. You can change your communication plan and it can have cost implication. Correct? For example, the client says, every week I need 3 printed copies and you have to bind them. Again, it's small cost, but it's the cost. So cost is the last in planning. You get the hypotheticals, overview. In planning, as a general idea, you always start with the scope, and among all the things that you do in the planning, cost is the last thing that you can close. Make sense? Because everything has got a cost implication. So you have to do everything in between the scope and the cost. So this is one pattern already in the planning processes. You will do scope planning processes, then schedule planning processes, then cost planning processes. And along the way, you'll do the other processes. For now, focus on the yellow boxes. Do you agree with the sequence of yellow boxes? You cannot do schedule until you know the scope, correct? Right? I mean, you can do some overlap, that's fine, but you cannot close your schedule until you have closed your scope, correct? Right? The same thing goes with the cost. You cannot say, I've done with my costing and I still have to finish my schedule. You cannot say that. It's not possible. But you can say, I've finished my schedule and I'm still closing my cost. You can say I can finish my, you can say I finish my schedule, but I'm still working on cost. It's possible. But you can never say I close my cost and I'm still working on schedule. You cannot say, you can never say that, right? So again, this is a high level progression. See, remember, you need to gradually know when what will happen. Even in planning, there's some kind of a pattern, some kind of sequence. This is that sequence. Okay. And Mahmoud, like you were saying, everything you will integrate. So technically the last, now I want to say last step rather than last knowledge area, because you know integration you do all the time. Now, by the way, whenever you have your schedule, you'll put it in the, what is integration about? Integration is like vacuum, you know, whatever you do in planning is going to take, correct? If you finish quality plan, will you not put it in integration? You will, right? That's what integration is about. When you do a communication plan, you will put it in integration. So when can you, how soon can you do integration? You can do integration from the time you do your scope, and you can keep on doing integration until you finish your cost. So that's why your integration is throughout planning. Make sense? And what is integration doing? What is the role of integration process? What is it actually doing? It's doing two things. What are the two things integration is doing? Tell me the two things.
Coordinating.
One, it's coordinating between what? Coordinating between all these guys. There's a lot
Different
of
process.
coordination between all these guys, right?
Different processes.
Yeah, different processes, you know, in planning, right? It'll do coordinating between
Yeah.
all of them. For example, if your quality is changing, then you have to figure out, because the quality is changing, is it affecting my scope, or is it affecting my schedule, or is it affecting my cost? You have to check. This is one thing, coordination. What is the second thing?
It's the project management plan.
Yeah, but what do you do in the plan, in the integration plan process?
Combine plans in
Combine. You take all the output from all of them, put them together, and that is your project management plan. You combine also. You do integrate, coordinate. Actually, in integration, planning integration process, one thing you're doing is coordination between all these guys, correct? Second thing is collecting. Right? So that is the role of your integration process. And what is the name of the integration planning process?
Develop project management plan.
All right. Now that you understand the develop project management plan, can you explain to me the most important input? Okay, let's start backwards. The output is easy. What will be the output of your integration process when you're done? What will be the output?
Project management plan.
Do you see, where do you expect to find it? In inputs, tools, or outputs?
Output.
Do you find it in outputs? Do you see outputs? You see it here, right? In the right place. So this is in the right place, right? Now, what do you think is the input to the integration planning process? What do you think is the input?
Output from other processes.
Fine. What does it mean? I don't know what it means.
Like, let's say example, you have like initiation phase. So initiation phase, the output is like you have a project chatter.
No, this is not. No, all that is the business of initiating. We don't bring initiating here. This is your integration planning process. So let's simplify. Throughout your planning, what do you produce? Give me examples of things you produce throughout planning, different examples. Give me examples of things you produce in planning.
Costing sheet.
You say that again, Mahmoud?
Costing sheet.
Costing sheet and overall costing sheet is one element. Overall, will you not do the whole costing? So in let's talk normal language, forget PMP language. In normal language, answer the question, what are all the different things you make in planning cycle during planning? One is your costing sheet, which means project budget, no?
Yeah.
What else do you make in planning? What else do you make?
Schedule of the project.
You make your schedule of the project, correct? You also make schedule. That's another thing you make. What else do you produce?
Resource planning.
Huh?
Resource planning.
Estimate quality.
You will do quality planning. You do resource planning.
Scope.
You do scope planning. Let's talk general language. You all of this you do when in planning. Are all these plans coming from one knowledge area or all different knowledge areas?
Different knowledge areas.
Okay. Now, if I tell you, give me your project management plan, what will you do to give me your project management plan?
We'll give you cost, the schedule, quality.
All of them you put in one zip file and you give me one zip file. If I open the zip file, inside will be all these plans, correct?
Correct.
So what have you done to make the zip file? First, to make a zip file, what did you have? What should you have with you before you make the zip file? You should have
all the
project scope, quality, duration.
These are all project plans, different project plans. So therefore, if you want to integrate, if you want to make the zip file, if you want to integrate, what do you need as an input? Tell me a common language. What do you need as input? If you want to make the zip file, your zip file is here, correct? This is your zip file. Output is the zip file. But to make the zip file, what do you need?
Output from the other processes.
What does it mean? Output from other process?
The plans of the.
So tell me common language plans. Now, give me examples of plan again.
Costing plan.
Cost management
and
schedule.
All of schedule and
risk.
You get the idea, right?
Yeah.
So where are these plans coming out of? Are they coming out of integration? They're coming out of other knowledge areas, other processes from other knowledge areas.
They're from other knowledge areas.
That's why, again, PMBOK is confusing, but that's why they're saying output of other planning processes. But if you have to, if I tell you, give me replacement text, replace this text, what will you replace it with? This text, output from other processes. If I tell you delete and write something else which is easy for me to understand, what will you write?
Output from other knowledge areas.
Deleted. What will you write in that place? Or tell me in a common, I'm not a project guy. Tell me in common project explanation.
Output from project plans.
No, output from project plan is project management plan. So what is this? What does it include? Think of the zip file. No, what do you put in the zip file, man? What do you need before you can do the zip file?
Scope, cost, quality,
scope, unit cost plan, unit quality plan. So where is it in this slide? Okay, question. Where is your schedule in this whole slide? Where?
In the inputs.
Which input?
It should be output from other process.
Give me another example of output from other process. Give me another example.
Scope, cost, quality, schedule.
Now you made the connection. Clear? So answer the question. If you have to replace this text, you'll replace with what? Now you answer the
Scope,
question.
quality, cost, schedule.
You'll write, add the word plan in the end. Whatever you say the plan. If you tell me scope plan, cost plan, I'll say yes. You say schedule plan, I'll say yes. You say Pepsi plan, I'll say yes. Why? Because you added the word plan. If you say shawarma plan, I will say yes. Why? Because you added the word plan. You say anything, you add the word plan, it's the input here. Because in the zip file, you have to give me everything. If I ask you, give me project management plan, you'll give me one zip file. That zip file is the output, and the input is schedule, plan, which is all plans, cost, quality, risk, procurement. Clear? Mazboot? If not, you say not Mazboot.
مش مظبوط. مش we say.
Okay, mesh means what?
مش
Sure.
مظبوط.
Mesh means what? Oh, mesh means no, right?
مش means no. Yeah.
No. Okay. Mazboot or mesh mazboot?
لا مظبوط.
Mazboot. Okay. So again,
100%.
if you can make note of this, write down somewhere, or I don't, you have soft copy. So put a note. This means what? This text means what?
Plans.
Which plan? Give me some names.
Cost, schedule.
Aiva. Now you're clear. Okay. Basically, in your mind, delete this text and write here schedule, cost, quality, plans. Okay, clear? Now, before I think let's stop for this today. Khalas, we finished the whole process. Now, this slide you read at home, homework. Read this whole slide. Everything you read on this slide is everything you do in planning. Okay, I've given you the idea. I've made it clear to you what's happening, what's the objective, what do you need, what do you get. This thing, especially on the right hand side, homework, read at home. I'm not explaining. Okay, but the whole slide is everything in one zip file called as project management plan. Okay. Now, just a couple of more details. Let me just finish this. These bubbles are, extra things I want to make sure you understand. Now, of all the plans that you make, there are 3 baselines, okay? One from scope, one from schedule, one from cost. What is a baseline? A baseline is an approved plan. So first you get a schedule. Then you submit your schedule and your stakeholders approve it. Now it is a baseline, a schedule baseline. Now the thing is, if you have a schedule baseline, you cannot change it without getting approval again. Okay. So do you understand this bubble? The baseline is the approved plan, and there are 3 baselines. What are the 3 baselines? Here.
Scope, schedule, and cost.
Okay. You don't get baseline first. First you get a scope plan. First you get a schedule. First you get a cost plan. Then you submit for approval, then they become baseline. But once they become baseline, it's almost like a constraint. You cannot change it. If you want to change, get approval. Okay.
I mean, I don't want to mix things. We have to get approvals on these baselines, get them approved, then we can add the others like quality and procurement.
No. Now here's the thing. If you are not done with your quality plan, don't get your baselines done. So theoretically, again, you might not do it like this, because you can do your scope baseline very early. Actually, it's better to do your scope baseline as early as you can, because it freezes your scope. But until you have done everything else in the project planning, don't do your schedule and the cost baseline, especially your cost baseline, until you have figured out everything else in the planning, everything else. So don't do your schedule and the cost baseline until you have done all the processes. Then you submit your budget, whatever you have, output from here, and whatever you have output from develop schedule, then you submit. Because remember, you do everything together. You do quality plan, because of which your resource is changing, because of which your scope is changing, because of which your schedule change, because of which your budget change. Then you adjust the resource. Then again, you readjust the schedule and you readjust the budget because the resource is now limited. Again, too many things happen in planning. So your baselines you leave to the later part of planning, maybe almost to the end of planning. Because once you make baseline and you find out you have to change your resource, now you need to go get approval. So don't get your baselines in the middle, get it towards the end. But accept scope baseline. Scope baseline, get it as soon as you can, as long as you're doing the right, full, proper thing. Because you want to freeze the scope. Otherwise, the client will keep changing the scope. Imagine the client changing the scope every other week. You know, some clients do that. It's not good for the project. It's called scope creep. Scope creep means the client is changing the project, you know, again and again and again. You know,
Changing for you, it's like amendments.
Type. Why is it amendment? Because everything is baseline. Now you want change, give me amendment. Amendment requires approval. An amendment is obligation, right? Meaning that because of the amendment, you can ask for extra time and you can ask for extra money. That's the whole idea of doing amendment. Because you want to make sure you're getting paid. You know, you want to make sure you're getting the time, extra time. The client cannot make amendment until you still finish on time. Habibi, you gave me amendment. I need more time. You see, it's all part of change. Okay. And also, yeah, for now, you know, that's that. So let's finish this. I think just one more thing remaining. This simple exercise. So we discussed this. Project management plan is a collection of all the baseline, and this is all, see, you have baselines, you know what is a baseline. Everything else is referred to as a subsidiary management plan. Your schedule is a subsidiary management plan. After approval, it becomes schedule baseline. Your budget, your cost is a subsidiary management plan. After approval, it becomes cost baseline. Get the idea? So your PM plan is collection of all baseline and subsidiary plans. Your subsidiary managed from all knowledge areas, procurement, quality, everything. Okay. Finally, you have to do this exercise. You can verbally tell me, right? What are the documents in the project? Give me examples of documents.
SLA, MOU.
SLA is a document, correct? Tell me more.
Contract agreement.
Contract and agreement, they're also document. Tell me a couple of more.
Memorandum of understanding.
Yeah, tell me an example of an output of a process you already studied, which is a document.
Project charter.
Charter is also a document, not a plan. Charter is not a plan. Charter is a document. Okay. And also identify stakeholder output. The register, stakeholder register is not a plan, document. Okay. So with that, I will stop my gir. You can ask your questions. So basically, we finish understanding the plan process. And because this is from integration, just, okay, before you go, just take like 30 seconds to think. In plan integration process, think you're doing coordination and you're doing consolidation. Consolidation is combining. Take 30 seconds to think about it, and then we close the session. So what is coordination? Think. And what is consolidation? Think. And if you can tell me what you're thinking, then I will know what you're thinking. So what do you think is coordination and what is consolidation?
Coordination.
Coordinating between different processes.
Yeah, coordinating between
Different processes.
Different processes. Which kind of processes? Like what? Give me a little more insight. They're all the different process from different knowledge areas, right? Like you're coordinating between scope and schedule to cost to quality to coordinate between all of them, right?
Mm.
Okay, then what is, this is coordinating the process that's doing. Then what is the idea behind consolidating?
Consolidating, I mean, example, consolidating two different plans in one, like costing and procurement, as an example.
La, la, la. What you're saying is correct, but it's not only for two plans. Actually, it's for Kulishai.
For Kulishay, it's a project integration.
أيوة هذا
Project
planning
management plan
integration
integration.
process. هذا planning, this is the planning integration process. What are you integrating? Everything. What is everything? On this slide. Like especially look at this. Everything you'll integrate, right? You'll integrate all the baselines and all the subsidiary management plan, correct? So if you have the soft copy with you, then we got to look at this slide, the PMP components, and we got to look at this slide. I would rather be with you guys for 2-3 more minutes to get this final, this touch up. So think about coordinating and think about consolidating. So coordinating part, you kind of answered. And is it clear? So now we need to be clear with the consolidating part. Consolidating is nothing but putting it together, consolidating. So what are we putting together?
Scope, quality, time, schedule.
And after you consolidate, what do you then have?
We'll have project management plan.
Very good. So theoretically, again, as a concept, you're consolidating towards the end of planning. Make sense? So you get everything, consolidate and put them together, zip file, for example, because in real life it's not a zip file. You put everything in one zip file, it's your project management plan, consolidating. Now, is coordinating happening throughout your planning?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. So consolidating, hypothetically, theoretically, is something in the later part of planning, towards the end maybe, right? Consolidating, put everything together, integration, that's in the end. But this coordinating, isn't this happening throughout your planning?
Yes.
So again, I'm just trying to give you perspectives, right? So when you think of coordinating, in a way, you're coordinating throughout. And consolidating is, let's modify that slightly. Whenever you make anything in planning, you drop it into one folder called project management plan. Make sense? Now it doesn't matter, but whenever you did quality plan, you will go drop it in that folder. Whenever you finish communication plan, what will you do? Drop it into the same folder. Whenever you do your schedule, you drop it into the same folder. This is consolidating. Now, while you're making a schedule, whatever coordination has to happen with everything else in the project plan, you will do the coordination, because your schedule, as an example, depends on resource. If you change the resources, your schedule will get changed, also your budget will get changed. So this is all coordinating between resource, schedule, and cost, as an example. This is called coordination. And once you're done, consolidation. So coordination while you're working, consolidation as you get things done. But you do both. You do coordination, you need to understand that aspect, and you do consolidation, you need to understand that aspect also. Okay. All right. Okay, I'm sure it's dinner time, and I can assume that your dinner has been ready, and so. But so we're done. I mean, I just wanted to highlight these 2 points and make sure that you grasped all of it. Okay. So why don't we do this? It will be very, very, very helpful if you guys find time anytime tomorrow, 15, 20 minutes. Look at these 3-4 processes we discussed today. And I want you to answer those 5 questions in your head. And I want you to look at every process, understand, you don't have to memorize anything. Look, and whatever you can already understand, try to recreate in your mind the discussions. So look at the inputs, look at the tools. If there's one tool not making any sense, forget it, go to the next one. If there's one input not making sense, forget it, go to the next one. But make a note that this I didn't understand. But I want you to look at everything that we discussed today, starting from charter to stakeholder to this slide, and then I had a couple of slides here like this slide. Look at this slide also. Tomorrow, try to recreate everything we discussed around this slide. It'll take you no longer than maybe 15-20 minutes, but I want you to do this before tomorrow's class. Okay. And don't start at 6 o'clock the revision. I want you to finish your revision like your mother. I want you home at 9. I want you finish at 6 because I want to start with you at 6. Don't think, oh, 6 o'clock, let me do the revision. La, too late. Be ready for your mother's spanking when you do this when you're young. Of course, I won't spank you, but I want you to finish this before 6. Okay.
Tomorrow we have class or not?
Yeah, Habib, I told you earlier, my tomorrow means the next class.
Wednesday, okay.
Whenever we have the next class, okay. Sometimes I will say on Wednesday, tomorrow it means Sunday. Okay. So good for you. Good for you. You have 2 days. Don't delay. Don't say tomorrow I will do Bukra. Do it on Tuesday. Even though we don't have class, do it on Tuesday. Anytime on Tuesday. Okay. All right. With that, I will let you go. I'm sure at least for some of you, the dinner is ready. Yalla. Okay. Hello, kiddo. All right then. Hey. So we will see each other tomorrow. Now you know what I mean by tomorrow because I'm used to saying that. All right. See you on Wednesday.
Inshallah. Thank you.
Inshallah.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night. Assalamu alaikum.